Who among us doesn't
Please
need to
remind
seek
us.
forgiveness?
Go ahead.
Which, as we know, is the Ram's horn.
Shalom Yerushalayim. I'm Bracha Fader of Ramah, Canada, and I'd like to share with you a few Yamim Noraim thoughts. In a few weeks, we will be having a conversation with Avinu Malkeinu, with God. We will say things like, Zachrenu l'chaim melech hafetz b'chaim, v'chatfenu b'sefer ha'chayim. God, you write us in the book of life. You, God, remember us for a good life. And when we say Modeh Ani, which we say every day, God actually will speak to us. Let's look closely. Modeh Ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati b'chemla rabba emunatecha. I thank you, God, for giving me back my soul in mercy. Great is your faithfulness. Rabba emunatecha. That's a little strange. I'm thanking God, and then it ends with God telling us that He's got much faith in us. That's incredible. So on the one hand, mitzad echad, I'm relying on God by telling Him, please write us in the book of life. But I'm also hearing Him say, I have faith in you. He's telling me I have potential to renew myself and to change and fix our world. But what do I need to do this, to try to make changes in myself and in the world? Well, one thing is the optimism and the boldness of Avram Avinu. He was bold enough to listen to Lech Lecha, and he had faith enough to trust in God's promise that he would be the father of a nation. Interesting, one other person was promised the same promise, to be the mother of a nation. And that was somebody that we read about in the first day of Rosh Hashanah's Torah reading, Hagar. Now, it's not a very easy story to read. You'll remember Sarah, Avram's wife, was having difficulty having a child. And so she brought on Hagar, her maid, to have a child with Avram. And Hagar did have a child, Yishmael. But Sarah became afraid of the influence that Yishmael would have on her child, Yitzchak, who she ultimately had. And so she asked Avram to tell Hagar to leave. Not an easy subject, but she does. Now let's read. After Sarah asked Abraham, and God agreed, early next morning, Avram took some bread and water and gave them to Hagar. He placed them over her shoulder, together with the child, and sent her away. And she wandered about in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water was gone, she left the child under one of the bushes and went and sat down at a distance. For she thought, let me not look on as the child dies from thirst. And sitting afar, Hagar burst into tears. God heard the cry of the boy, and an angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the cry of the boy where he is. Come, lift up the boy and hold him by the hand, for I will make a great nation of him. Now pay close attention. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the jar with water and let the boy drink. God was with the boy, and he grew up. Very interesting. First, Hagar is giving up on the possibility that Ishmael will make it, and she's forgetting the promise that God had made to her. She didn't have that same belief and optimism that Avram had. And notice that it says, then God opened her eyes and she saw a well. He didn't then create a well. It had been there all the time. She just opened her eyes now with God's encouragement and saw the well. What she was missing was Abraham's faith and optimism. And as we look forward to a new year, a Shana Chadashah, we perhaps more than ever have to have that same optimism that Avram had, so that we can move on and change what needs to be changed. Wishing everyone a Shana Ma'od Tova.